It says it is now streaming live.
It's ready now.
All right, welcome everybody to our January 25th Municipal Housing Agency Governing Board meeting. Let's call the meeting to order, and I will ask the clerk to please take roll of our board.
County,
Here.
Boson,
Here.
Voss,
Here.
Gray,
Here.
Westergaard,
Here.
Mandelbaum,
Here.
Gatto.
Here.
Your Honor, we have a quorum.
All right, our item number 2 is approving the agenda as presented and or as amended.
So moved.
All right, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposition? Hearing none, item passes. Item 3 is a submittal of deposition application to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, for 16 single-family units, board communication number 21-038. Any questions?
I'll move item 3, Your Honor.
All right, item 3 has been moved. All right, it doesn't look like we have any questions. Would you have a roll call on this one, please?
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Voss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
Yes.
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
All right, thank you all. Short agenda this evening for the Municipal Housing Agency Governing Board. Could we have a motion to adjourn?
Move.
Adjourn.
It's been moved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposition, we sit adjourned, and in about 8 minutes, we'll start our city council meeting. Thank you
Your
all.
Honor, everyone, do not log off. This is the regular meeting link as well. Just put
Okay.
yourself on mute and then we'll return at 4:30.
Thank you.
Okay, that's what my problem was. I was looking for a separate sign on for the 4:15, so sorry about that.
That's okay.
Okay. Okay, can you hear me?
And
Okay. Hey, before we start our city council meeting, I've got a couple of things to just sort of report. I want to take a moment to acknowledge and let everybody know of what's going on around news around the weekend. You know, sometimes there's negativity out there on a variety of issues, but there was a piece that came out from U.S. News and World Report over the weekend that Des Moines, Iowa is the second safest place to live in America, just behind Green Bay, Wisconsin. The U.S. News and World Report ranking considered crime rates based on population and FBI crime reports. So I want to congratulate our chief, Dana Wingert, and all the men and women who make up that force that help us to achieve that. You know, we're working real hard with our general public and doing training, and I think all of that is going to continue to enhance our efforts to protect our public, and so we acknowledge your hard work, and we look forward to your continuing it, and it's greatly appreciated. I also want to take a moment, you know, through the last year, starting in last March, when we started acknowledging and working on everything that we could do here in the city of Des Moines to protect the health and welfare of our citizens around the pandemic. And I not only want to acknowledge all of our city personnel and everything that they have done to try to continue to keep the work going on at the city, but importantly, I want to acknowledge and thank all the healthcare professionals in the hospitals, in the doctor's office, every place they have been there. I want to acknowledge the people in the pharmacies, the people in the grocery stores, all those workers that have to be there day after day, whether they're working to provide us the food that we need, or the people that are delivering the mail or the packages to us. Our thanks go out to you, and also to our teachers who work so hard to not only educate our kids, but to stay safe. And let's hope that they all continue to do so, because these frontline people are what it needs to keep, even during a pandemic, our city moving forward. And I want to thank each and every one of them for the work that they've done and the work that we know they're going to continue to do. So my hat's off to them, and I, from not only my office, but all of our city council, I think would join me in thanking all those professionals. So I quickly wanted to take a moment to do that. So I think it's time to get started. Here we are on our January 25th Des Moines City Council meeting. Let's call our meeting to order, and I would ask that following that, let's take roll, Madam Clerk, and call the roll.
Tony,
Here.
Boson,
Here.
Boss,
Here.
Gray,
Here.
Westergaard,
Here,
Mandelbaum,
Here.
Gatto.
Here.
Your Honor, we have a quorum.
All right. Item 2 is approving the agenda as presented and or as amended. I will say that there was one regular item. Item 61B was added. It's a final consideration of an ordinance above, and the waiver is requested by Jeremy Byer, and that one's going to require 6 votes, but that's the only piece that was added.
I'll move item 2.
Okay, item 2 has been moved Voice vote or? Voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposition? Hearing none, our agenda is approved. Item 3 is approving our consent agenda. Tonight, those are items 3 through 53. There are a couple of those. Councilmember Gatto wishes to speak on item 41. And Councilmember Mandelbaum is registered to abstain from item 43 and 44.
Mr. Mayor, could I change? 43 was included by mistake. Only item 44 is what I wish to abstain on.
Okay, thank you. All right, so 43 is withdrawn and he will only abstain on 44. Any other?
If not, I'll move item 3.
All right, item 3 has been moved. We will ask if there's anybody from the public. I see Indira, you have your hand up.
Hi, I wanted to request to remove 30 and 31 because you were talking about our pandemic relief. And I was wondering why you guys spent so many months holding on to national money for pandemic relief and you haven't even dispersed it yet. That's 30 and 31.
All right, she has asked to pull 30 and 31. All right, but Giovanni, no, looks like he withdrew. Michael McCoy.
I think he's just here to talk about item 41, Mayor.
Okay, he had his hand up, that's all.
Oh, apologize.
All right, thank you.
Maybe you could have to do a motion for the 2 items.
All right, we've had a motion for the agenda, except for item 41, which Councilmember Gatto wishes to speak. Indira has asked to pull 30 and 31. Would anybody like to move to pull 30 and 31?
I don't think we need to pull them, but I think maybe just a quick clarification. I mean, I believe we don't have the dollars. If staff could clarify, I mean, we previously took action indicating that we would be allocating dollars in this manner. And I think not that we were sitting on those dollars, it's that those dollars are now coming so that we can actually distribute them. But if staff could clarify.
Scott, would you want to quickly clarify that?
Yeah, I can just add context that there was an RFP process to identify where those funds could best be helpful in 2 areas. You'll notice the child care and the mental health. And so that did take some time. But yes, those funds would be on a reimbursement basis. So we'll work.
Okay, with that clarification, does anybody want to pull those items? Hearing none, could we have a motion, I believe, to approve the balance?
So moved.
Council, please.
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Voss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
Yes.
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
All right. That takes us to item 41, which was requested to be pulled by Councilmember Gatto. This is the 5th Amendment and renewal of a contract for single stream recyclables processing services with Mid-America Recycling LLC, Council Communication number 21-024. Councilmember Gatto.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Just real quick, I was excited and happy to see this on Friday. But I was also a little surprised, as being the representative on Metro Waste, that I hadn't heard anything about any of this. So I thought I would take a minute, have Director McCoy come in and talk about the MRF. And I believe we are going to be a part of that. I didn't know there was a decision made yet. I think some details still need to be worked out with some of that between City Manager Sanders and Jonathan Gano and Director McCoy. But I'll just let him jump in. Director McCoy, if you can just give us an update, completion date, when you think we're going to be able to use that facility, just to make sure it's going to coincide with this agreement that we're going to pass. That was my biggest concern.
Sure. I appreciate the opportunity, Council, Mayor. Joe brought this to me on Friday, and it is also the first time I've heard about it. So we have quickly kind of circled up and talked to Jonathan about it, as well as internal staff, the construction group, and the manufacturing of the equipment. Metro is not prepared to open until November 1 and of that facility, and that will be a testing period for that month. We may be able to test a little bit prior to that, some material to get ready for that opening on November 1. And so that is a very tight timeline. Again, happy and excited to welcome Des Moines and its material to come to the facility. But I do think we need to do a little bit of work on the dates and the material itself that's coming, and getting a contract ready for that. Which again, we haven't started that discussion yet, but I'm sure we can put that together quickly. And again, my worry is the November 1 date, if that will be available for Des Moines or anyone really to be bringing their material that soon. It is on schedule. It is on budget. The snow, of course, takes its effect on the construction, but the precast walls started going up last week. Foundation, all that poured. The manufacturing of the equipment is coming along very nicely, and we're pretty excited for what we have to offer to Central Iowa. So that's kind of the update where we are with the MRF. I just caution you maybe on the date, and perhaps we can go offline in this next week, this coming week, or tomorrow, and discuss those a little bit more.
All right, I thank you, Joe and Michael, for sort of that update. Scott, I want to kick it over to you to get sort of a feedback, because obviously they're not quite up and running. We've got a provider that's currently servicing our folks. Would you give us an update, please?
Yeah, I can start us out, and Kay, if you could allow Jonathan Gano, our Public Works Director, to speak as well. So correct in that we don't have terms to do any switch over at this point in time, and we need to continue to use the private recycler until we have that decision. Jonathan, I'll let you speak to the dates and the potential to further extend, if necessary, with the private provider.
Sure, I'd be happy to. We selected October 31st as an ending date for this amendment and extension, so that it would coincide with the Metro Waste Authority's ending of their contract with the same processor. Just to put us in the same timeline on paper. There is, though, a clause in the extension agreement that would allow us to mutually negotiate a longer time period for the purposes of getting us to or through any kind of testing or otherwise other kind of scheduling problem that might not have manifested itself yet. So I'm confident we would have the ability to get our way through any kind of schedule challenge that November 1st, meeting a hard November 1st deadline might propose. So there is a way built into the amendment and extension to navigate that kind of difficulty. And Mr. McCoy is correct. We're early in figuring out what that kind of agreement would look like between the city and the Metro Waste Authority for the handling of our recyclables processing. I'm confident, though, we can figure that out. We've been part of this development since the feasibility stage study in 2016, and happy to see it coming to fruition with higher quality and more capable recycling and bringing a better value for the recycling customer in Des Moines.
Just one thing added. All of us, myself and all my colleagues, serve on all these boards as a representative of the city of Des Moines. And just to kind of keep us up to speed, instead of seeing things on the council agenda, to where, as a representative for Metro Waste, to my knowledge, we didn't make any decision whether we were going to use that facility. As you stated, maybe an offline conversation before I see something on the agenda the next time would be beneficial, not only to myself, but to everyone else that serve on other boards that we represent the city, that staff gives us those updates regularly before we see it on the agenda. Scott and Jonathan, please.
Sure, that's fair.
Thank you. I'll move item 41, please.
All right. Poll the council, please.
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Voss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
yes,
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion
Oh.
carries.
I was a yes as well.
Josh
Oh,
gets to
sorry,
vote too.
Josh, did I miss you? Sorry.
You did, but
7
that's okay.
yes. I have to do that once every meeting, I guess.
All right.
Just to make sure I'm paying attention, right?
All of us.
All right, that completes our consent agenda. Again, our council meetings are about doing the business of the city. And we want to remind all our members of public, these ordinances, these are considerations of ordinances on traffic and other things. And we generally do those without public comment. So ordinances first consideration, number 54, amending chapter 114 of the municipal code regarding traffic regulation changes as follows. Council communication number 21-045. A is a traffic control change, the intersection of 14th Street and Oak Park Avenue. And B is a code modification to Southwest McKinley Avenue, Southwest McKinley Drive, and Southwest 61st Street due to the Waldinger development at 6200 Scout Trail. Council, any comments on item 54A or B?
Seeing no comments, I'm happy to move 54A and B and waive the second and third reading.
All right, item's been moved. Poll the council, please.
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Voss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
yes,
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
All right, item 55 is amending chapter 26, article 4, sections 26-400 and 26-406, and repealing section 26-405 and 26-413 relating to the electrical code. Council communication number 21-034. A, the final consideration ordinance above the waiver is requested by our city manager and requires 6 votes. Let's go ahead and open it up. Any comments on this one, council? Any questions?
If not, I'll move 55 and 55A.
All right. Seeing none, poll the council, please.
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Voss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
yes,
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
Item 56 is amending Chapter 62-3 relating to the procedures for processing human rights complaints. A is the final consideration of the ordinance above. The waiver again is requested by our city manager and requires 6 votes. Council?
I'll move item 56 and 56A, Your Honor.
All right. Would you poll the council, please?
County,
Yes.
Boson,
yes,
Voss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
yes,
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
All right, thank you. Item 57 is amending 42-259 relating to motorized vehicles. Council communication number 21-040. And A is a final consideration of that ordinance above, and again, it's requested by our city manager and requires 6 votes. Council?
I'll move
Mayor
it.
County,
Yes.
Mayor County, I'll be pleased to move this. This is about dumpsters that are being emptied in PUDs, sometimes at 2 and 2:30 in the morning. And so this will be terrific for people who live right below a dumpster. I know down the street from where I live in the East Village, there's some unhappy owners of townhouses there that are not pleased at all about the operation currently. I want to thank Sue Ann Donovan for bringing this before us. And with that, I'd be happy to move 57A.
All right, item's been moved. Poll the council, please.
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes,
Voss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
yes,
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
All right, the next is communications reports. These are requests to speak. So these are speaking items from our citizens. And again, we're quickly going to say for, all those people wishing to speak this evening under the public speaking item, we will only be calling on those who have registered to speak. And because of the number of speakers this evening are a few less than lately, I'm going to allow each one 2 minutes and 18 seconds if they choose to use it all to make their comments. Please keep your own time, because at the end of that 2 minutes and 18 seconds, the clerk will announce time and the speaker's mic will be closed and we'll immediately move on to the next speaker. And we want to hear from all those citizens, and we encourage citizens to be respectful of others' viewpoints that are different maybe from their own. And while you may certainly disagree with that viewpoint, I will remind everyone that the council's rules provide that any comments that are slanderous will result in that speaker being barred from further comment. As a presiding officer, I will determine whether comments are slanderous or not, but fair warning, arguing with a presiding officer about his determination is not permitted, and doing so would be considered disruptive and again result in the speaker being barred from the remainder. But let's jump right in and start in. Brittany Ruland. Brittany, if you're on a phone, could you put your hand up? And I think press.
star.
Okay, would she press *9 or what?
Star 9 to raise your hand and star 6 to unmute yourself.
Brittany, if you are on a regular phone, star 9 to raise your hand and star 6 to unmute yourself. All right, let's move on. Adam Callanan. Adam? Can you unmute yourself, Adam? There you go.
Hello, yes. Hello, my name is Adam Callanan. I use he, him pronouns. There's a lot of things that we think are important, we being the public, especially those of us with People's Town Hall. We want to talk about some of those issues that are not on the agenda. Starting with public reports. Last meeting, 8 minutes were cut off public reports without cause by the city attorney, who does not have the authority to change the council rules. The clerk's office also no longer shows topics for public reports on the agenda. No reason was given for either of these things. And this meeting, the speakers did not receive emails confirming their sign up from the clerk's office. All the other signs that public comment is being restricted even without proper authority. If council wants to change the rules, they should vote to change the rules, as they've done several times. It's pretty easy. Y'all have the power to do that. But Scott Sanders and Jeff Lester shouldn't just be making up rules on their own. Okay, also the marijuana task force. The council tried to create a narrative of great accomplishment around the creation of the marijuana task force, but in the end just took all the recs and made no concrete changes in response. The city could easily adopt the pieces of the recommendation about tracking traffic data and making weed the lowest priority and raising awareness about medical marijuana, but they're just choosing not to. Also, DMPD Officer Steinkamp, that was in the agenda actually on the consent items because the public is actually paying to defend him. That's when the city just approved. Ryan Steinkamp is being sued for racial profiling. This is the third time. DMPD have refused to fire this repeat offender, and now the city of Des Moines have retained outside counsel for him. They'll pay this counsel $150 an hour. It's they, but like really us, we're the taxpayers or the public were paying for it. Once again, city council is protecting a racist police department rather than the victims of these cops' actions. The city refuses to fire Officer Steinkamp, and upon the third offense of racial profiling. Dewan, D'Amico, and Jared's experiences seem to be meaningless to the city council. In public transit, the DART transit workers have been excluded from the phase 1B of vaccine rollout. Also, volunteers have been made to clean DART-owned bus shelters. This shows that the city is unwilling to use its resources to do even the maintenance that they're required to do, and this also shows the city is not prioritizing public safety or public transit. The city doesn't support the existing green infrastructure while spending millions on things like new parking garages. In gentrification, a Black-owned bar was forced out of the historically gentrified East Village by the city. That's something that's very concerning to a lot of us, and we need to know more about it, but seems to be swept under the rug. Also, at the state level, we're seeing attacks on abortion and LGBTQIA plus rights. It'd be great if the city council could do something.
All right, let's move to James Grimm. James, if you're out there and on a phone, star 9, put your hand up. Star 6, unmute yourself. I'm not seeing James. All right, let's move to Denver Foote. Denver? All right, let's move to Peyton Shoemaker. Peyton Shoemaker. All right, let's move to Jalen Cabell.
Hello, council. Happy Monday. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, cool. I just wanted to start my comments by saying that what y'all have decided to do with the marijuana task force is a joke. This proclamation that y'all are putting forth today, and I'm sure you will pass, is a joke. What was the point of setting up something like a cannabis task force in the first place if you were going to do nothing with the recommendations that were provided to you? This marijuana task force was supposed to be something that was already passed in the racial profiling ban that was passed earlier in the summer. It was one of the key items that activists were calling for in the beginning with the racial profiling ordinance, saying that cannabis should be the lowest law enforcement priority by the city of Des Moines. And that was something that they asked y'all to do. And instead, y'all left it out of the racial profiling ban, passed that anyway, called it a victory, and said, you know what, we're going to set up this task force. You set up this task force that had many meetings that we attended, us being community members concerned about this issue, raised our voices, gave recommendations to the task force, felt, kind of decent, felt like we were maybe heard a little bit, weren't super happy with the results of the task force, but we're still happy that there were some recommendations being made to the council and some steps being shown to y'all, actionable steps that you could take on this issue to make marijuana a low law enforcement priority in the city, actionable steps you could take before state and federal law change. Instead, what we see is this proclamation coming out by y'all saying, we're unable, our hands are tied. We can't do anything about this until state or federal law is changed. That's not what the task force said. That's not what they recommended. They gave y'all actionable steps that you could take that y'all are ignoring. And I know for a fact that Josh Mandelbaum and Connie Bozen are, should be supportive, I thought, of doing more than this. I thought that Joe Gatto was supportive of doing more than this too. And I'm wondering what changed. Is it that Police Chief Dana Wingert, who Frank County praised earlier in this meeting, is it that he came out in the media and said himself that he doesn't care what council passes, he's going to ignore them anyway and still lock people up for this plant? Is that why y'all decided to do nothing about this issue? Because of pressure from the police department? We've seen pressure from the Des Moines Police Department influence council's decisions many times in the past, and I believe that that is what's happening here again today. This is despicable. This is a joke. I don't know how the council can look at themselves and think that they're a real governing body of this city when they choose to do nothing about the issues that are facing everyday people. It's abhorrent. I don't know, what other adjectives to tell y'all. I hope that you will please listen to the words I'm saying.
All right. It is 5:01. We need to immediately move to our hearing items. Again, those are items tonight, 59 through 65. I want to quickly go over, some of our hearings this evening. So tonight we've got several zoning items consisting of items 59 to 61. We also have a vacation hearing and some other hearing items. As a reminder, for the zoning items only, which are items 59 to 61, and we will hear from the parties in interest first and then the general public. So the parties in interest include only the applicant for the rezoning and those persons living within 250 feet of the property to be rezoned to whom the city has sent a notice. After all the parties in interest have commented, we will then open it up to any member of the public for germane comments to that item. To aid the city clerk in calling on the parties in interest, I will ask everyone else to not raise their hand on the Zoom call unless you are the zoning applicant or live within that 250 feet and receive that mail notice. Anyone else who raises their hand before it is their time will be compared with that list. If you're not on it, you'll be considered disruptive and will not be recognized for the remainder of the meeting. So please wait until I call for the general public for the zoning items, or you will not be called on for the remainder of the meeting. For those members of the general public who wait to raise their hands, they will be called on for up to 7 minutes of germane comment at 1 minute per speaker after the parties in interest have spoken. Again, those are items 59 to 61. We also have a hearing to select a developer for the Market Street redevelopment in item 63, and that is a hearing to review competing proposals received. So we will hear first from any person who has submitted an alternative proposal, and then to aid our city clerk in calling on those persons, we have the same process where the general public doesn't raise their hand until it is their turn to comment, as we do in the zoning hearings, until all competing proposals have had their opportunity to speak first. And for those members of the general public who wait to raise their hand, again, you'll be called on for up to, we're going to allow 7 minutes of total germane public comment. at 1 minute per person. And for other hearing items that are not zoning hearings or the selection of a developer, the public may raise their hands immediately upon me reading the item for comment, again, that are germane to that item only. And for the remainder of the hearings this evening, any interested person may make germane comments that not to exceed 1 minute to a maximum of 5 minutes per item. And no one will be called on for the last item, as is a dismissal of a hearing request. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Again, our first hearing item is item 59. It's on a request from Campbell's Holdings LLC, Eric Campbell, officer, to rezone property at 3104 East Court Avenue from N5 Neighborhood District to Limited I1 Industrial District to allow the property to be used for industrial uses such as outdoor storage. A is the first consideration of the ordinance above, and B is the final consideration of the ordinance above. The waiver is requested by Eric Campbell, who's the officer, and again, this will require 6 votes. Again, here we are. This is an item for zoning, and so we will ask if there's any parties in interest. We would ask you to raise your hand at this time. That would be the zoning applicant and anybody within that 250 feet who received a notice. Seeing none, let's open it up and see if there's any members of the public who would like to speak. Again, 1 minute per person to speak for the 7 minute maximum. Is there anyone in the public like to speak about Campbell's Holding with the property at 3104 East Court? All right, seeing none. Council, do we have a motion on this item?
Mr. Mayor, I'll move 59A and B.
All right, 59A and B have been moved. Not hearing any requests from council for any discussion, I would ask the clerk to poll the council.
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Boss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
Yes.
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
All right, that takes us to item 60, which is on a request from James Andrew and Nancy Albright Andrew, who are the owners, to amend the Plan DSM creating or tomorrow plan future land use classification from park and open space with development control zone overlay to low density residential, and to rezone property at 3900 Southeast 34th Street from F flood district to limited N2B neighborhood district to allow the property to be filled and developed with a 1 household living development use. A is the first consideration of the ordinance above, and B is the final consideration of the ordinance above. Let's go ahead and ask if there are any parties in interest here. The applicant first. Is the applicant on and would like to make any comment? I don't see any. I'll ask now if there's any parties in interest. Again, within 250 feet of the property to be rezoned.
Mr. Mayor, I see none. I'd be happy to move 61, 61A and waive the second and third reading.
Okay,
Or, I'm sorry, 60A and B.
There's a general public.
okay. The item has been moved, but let's now ask if there's any germane comments from the general public. Indira, I see your hand up. Do you have a comment?
Hello, I have a comment. Excuse me, we're echoing. Okay, yeah, I've got a comment about 60. I'm concerned about the fact that you guys are rezoning what is called park and open space with the development controls on that. Development control is basically about the plain area. But what concerns me about the park and open space that is listed as land or water areas generally free from development, primarily used for park and recreation purposes, but may also indicate private or public open spaces reserved for natural resource conservation. And it looks like this forest reserve area. And it's clear that y'all have already developed most of the area around this area around Easter Lake. But yeah, I disapprove of developing even more of it for personal living when there's other places in the city people can live. So yeah, I'm just gonna say I hope that you guys don't pass this. I hope you guys definitely don't do a final consideration and go to some natural resource advocates to make sure that the choices that you guys are making are in line with what we need in this city and in the state, because I don't think we should be developing forest area.
Galen Cabell.
Hello. Yeah, I just wanted to speak on item 60 on this agenda.
Yep, go ahead.
Just wanted to echo Indira's statements, the previous speaker before me. I think that she laid it out pretty well, and I agree with her. I don't think that this should be passed. It doesn't sound like this is good to be rezoning this property. So yeah, I agree. I don't think that this should be passed. Thumbs down from me.
All right, Adam Callahan.
Hello. Yep. My name is Adam Callanan. I use he, him pronouns. I'd like to uplift what Indira and Jalen said. Also, this is concerning to me because we've seen a lot of kind of zoning back and forth. So even if this is a good move, I don't think it makes sense to like rush this into a final ordinance right now. I'd rather the city get this right so we don't have to unzone and rezone as we've seen happening. And on this agenda too, I think there's some items about that. Yeah, as well as I know we just recently had a discussion about the urban forestry master plan, about how we all want more trees around. And this seems to go pretty counter to that. I know it's not exactly the same, but yeah, it seems to me at the very least, we should not be rushing this through a final consideration. We should be discussing this because this is not what the land is intended for. Thanks.
Okay. Vanessa.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
This is Vanessa, she, her pronouns, and I just popped on real quick to say that I hear a TV in the background and city council members get paid to do this job. And I think it's pretty frowned upon to listen or watch the television while you're working. And I wanted to bring the point of order or bring it to your attention that you can call each other out on this stuff. That's all.
Luke Bascom. Luke? All right.
Hope he's back. I don't know.
All right. Do we have a motion?
We already had one.
Sorry, I moved 60A and B, Your Honor.
All right. Before we vote, I would ask whether or not we could separate A and B. I just want to make sure that, you know, this has been a flood district, and I want to make sure that the proper things have been done to make sure that anything that is built down here, especially if they're residential, are going to be out of the flood risk. I don't want we had this issue around 4 Mile Creek years ago, and now we're buying some of these properties out. So I just want to make sure that we're going to be able to protect those homeowners down there from any risk of flood. So if it's all right, could you separate A and B?
I'll move 60A.
All right.
I just wanted to say too, I asked that question about the floodplain. And Mike Ludwig said that there has to be fill put in here And I don't know, and it's on the fringe of a flood, but I think we move 68 that we can find out more information.
I see that Mike Ludwig is on. Mike, did you want to make a quick comment?
Mayor, County, members of the council, Michael Ludwig, Development Services Director, City of Des Moines. You are correct. This property is located on the fringe of the floodplain. There would be fill involved for the building site. Under our floodplain regulations, they would have to do compensatory storage, flood storage elsewhere that would be greater than what they are filling on this, for this building site. In addition, they have to seek a amendment to the floodplain designation through FEMA before we can issue any permits on the property for fill. So they have multiple steps they have to go through with FEMA and our floodplain administration staff before any permits can be issued. Thank you.
All right, and just to remind everybody, if we just pass A this evening, the final two readings could come back under consent, but I again agree with Tony. I think we just need to, and Michael has stated it properly, but we've seen unfortunately some mistakes made in the past way before any of us were on this city council that required us to try to do the best we can to protect the property owners. And it was, when we see events like we are, which are much more frequent, severe weather events, rain and wind and flooding, I just, without a comfort level and reassurance, I couldn't vote for the final consideration. So I understand that 60A has been moved. Would you poll the council, please?
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Voss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
Yes.
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
All right. We're going to move on to 61, which is on a request from February 30 Properties doing businesses South Des Moines Vet Center. Jeremy Byer is the officer to amend the plan DSM, creating our tomorrow plan, future land use classification from low density residential within a community node to community mixed use within a community node, and rezone property at 601 Army Post Road and 6302 Southwest 6th Street from N3A Neighborhood District and MX2 Mixed Use District to limited MX3 Mixed Use District to allow the property to be developed for animal service, veterinary, and boarding uses. A is the first consideration of the ordinance above, and B is the final consideration of the ordinance above. The waiver is requested by Jeremy Byer as the owner, and again, it requires 6 votes. Again, let's start and ask, are there any parties in interest? The applicant for rezoning, we would ask first, and then those within 250 feet of the property to be rezoned. I see a hand up. Corey Sharp. Corey?
Good evening, Mayor Council. Corey Sharp, architect with FEH Design, located at 604 East Grand Avenue, the primary contact for the applicant. You can see here that this address, or both of these addresses, currently reside in what is the remnants of an old trailer park. The 6302 Southwest 6th Street is a single family home, kind of located on the northeast portion of the site. The owners of this property are looking to develop this into a veterinary center, and the current zoning doesn't allow for that. So we're simply just asking this site to be rezoned. It's a similar zoning, albeit doesn't really, the current zoning just doesn't really allow for a really great design of a veterinary center. The owners currently have a property just a couple blocks away. They've found a very successful business and are just looking to build a new building to continue with their veterinary services and continue to invest in the south side of Des Moines. So I'd appreciate approval of both items A and B on tonight's meeting. Thanks.
All right. Any other parties in interest? We heard from the representative of the owner, and I'm seeing none from the general public within that 250 feet. Anybody from the general public, we'd ask you to raise your hand at this time if you would like to speak to this item regarding this property. It's 6302 Southwest 6th. All right, seeing none, council, do we have a motion here?
Mayor, I'll move 61A and waive the second and third reading.
With 61B, okay.
Yeah, mine didn't have B listed, but I'll throw it in there.
Okay. Poll the council, please.
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Voss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
Yes.
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
Right, item 62 is on a vacation of a portion of a street right-of-way located at the southeast corner of Southwest 63rd Street in the Southwest Leland Avenue, and conveyance of said vacated right-of-way and adjoining excess city property to Annette Holdings, Inc. for $82,000. Council communication number 21-030. A is the first consideration of the ordinance, and B is the final consideration of the ordinance above. The waiver is requested by Jeremy Byer, who's the owner, and again requires 6 votes. Again, we will ask for germane comments from the general public. Again, 1 minute per person with up to 5 minutes maximum. This is not a rezoning, so we'll quickly right now open it up for general public. Any germane comments on this item? Southwest 63rd.
For the public, there is a B to waive.
Yeah, there is a B, and the B is the consideration, which is the waiver. So there's an A and a B. All right, seeing no one, could we have a motion?
Yeah, I'll move 62A and 62B.
All right.
We actually have no B on this one, but you can choose to waive if you
It was added
so
by
choose.
What, wasn't that the added item?
Yeah, that's right.
It's on the other one. That was on 61.
I've got the amended agenda is on as 62A and B, but we can just add the language, K, if that works, that says final consideration of the ordinance above. The waiver has been requested by Jeremy Byer, who's the owner, and requires 6 votes. So I think that's the motion. Right, Josh?
Yes.
All right, poll the council, please.
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Voss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
Yes.
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries. Did I get Westergaard?
Yes, you did.
Okay, I wanted to make sure. Thank you. That's 7 yes, motion carries.
Okay, item 63, which is on selecting the developer approving urban renewal agreement with the district developer LLC for the sale of land for private redevelopment and development of land owned and to be owned by the developer in the market district in the East Village and part of the Metro Center urban renewal area. Council communication number 21-047. Yeah, so just we need parties in interest first. Those are either developers or people that have a competing bid. We would ask them to speak first, and we'll do them till we can get all of their input. And then second, we'll ask for the germane comments from the general public. Again, 1 minute per person there. So again, is there anyone there, party in interest, who has a proposal, an alternate proposal? Anyone? All right, let's ask then secondly, are there any germane comments from the general public? Again, 1 minute per person. All right, Indira, we'll start with you.
Hi, okay, so on 63, I want to clarify that the District Developer LLC is actually a consortium of Mid-American Energy and JSC Holdings or something like that, but JSC just stands for Jim S. County, second cousin to Frank County. So first of all, I think that you need to, not vote on this item. But second of all, I think it's interesting that we didn't hear from any competing bids because I'm not sure that the city held a competitive bidding process. It looks like when we were tracking this item that you guys kept ordering for the competitive bidding process to be submitted, but I never saw any evidence of it actually submitting or any other interested developers coming in and submitting proposals, which is interesting because once you guys finalized the market district plan in November of 2019, in December of 2019, you received the proposal from JSC. So I just think it's interesting that, that a member of the county family is getting this huge project buying city land.
Luke.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. Yeah, I similarly have some concerns about conflict of interest here. Obviously, this is a pretty huge project that a family member of American Counties is basically receiving the go-ahead to work on, and it seems like something that we should be probably pretty cautious about, and you all should be cautious about as our city representatives. And also, I'm just not so sure this is the greatest project for Des Moines right now. I know we've already got a pretty huge housing apartments project going on over by MLK. And this doesn't look like it's going to be very affordable housing. Only 10% of housing has to be affordable, and the rest of it, who knows how expensive that's going to be. We already have, people that are houseless in this city. We've got people that.
Adam Callanan.
Hello, my name is Adam Callanan. I use he, him pronouns. I'd like to uplift Indira and Luke's comments. It's very concerning that, a member of the county family is being given this huge deal. It also is just weird that there's a consortium. I don't know if that's just a normal business thing, but I can tell you, at least from the outside, there's a weird appearance of how that looks, that Mid-American and JSC are forming their own special thing that makes it look like it's not Mid-American and JSC. But either way, I also agree with Luke, the merits of this project are a bit questionable too. Even beyond the merits, I honestly don't have really high trust in the development happening in the city. The Blackbird Tower didn't come through. The parking garage project, the tower that's it's across the street from where I live, and it was supposed to be started years ago, and now it's just a parking garage, and the parking garage is foreclosed, and the city had to spend millions on it. I just don't feel like right now, in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of a budget shortfall, is it time for the city to be making huge leaps and investing money in things like development when they could be getting relief in people's hands. And we know that they're sitting on money and have been sitting on
Fine.
COVID funds.
All right, Jalen.
What up? I just want to, of course, uplift the comments of Indira, Luke, and Adam. I believe that this should not be voted yes on. I believe that this is a clear sign of nepotism. Once again, we are seeing with this council, basically everyone on the council is in some way involved in some sort of real estate project going on in this city. It's pretty interesting. But yeah, this time it's Frank County and his cousin. Also, this is, once again, want to point out the further gentrification of the East Village, which is continuing to be take place in the city. And the East Village being gentrified also relates to the fact that council members Joe Gatto and Carl Voss were trying to get this Black-owned bar to have their liquor license taken away from the very beginning, and now they've been forced out of this gentrified neighborhood already. This is just more racism in our city. I want y'all to vote no on this project, and once again, I think that county should not even be voting on this. I don't know if he will abstain or not, but either way, everyone should vote no on this. Thanks.
All right. I would turn it back now to the council. Do we have a motion here?
Sure, Mr. Mayor. We've had lengthy discussions, which none of them you've taken part in, by the way, and you've abstained from every vote. But this is a $250 million investment over the next 10 to 15 years in our city. $25 million of infrastructure that the developer is taking on himself. This is a great project for our city. I will happily move item 63.
The item's been moved. I would ask you to, clerk, to poll the council, please.
County,
As has been pointed out on any items, while I don't and in no way have ever been in business with my distant cousin, I have abstained from every vote that has to do with any project that they've been involved in, and I will continue to do so. So I abstain from this vote.
Boson,
Yes.
Voss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
Yes.
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 6 yes, 1 abstention.
All right. That
Motion carries.
takes us to item 64, which is on a land exchange agreement with Gloria S. Hoffman for property located at and adjoining 4200 Leonard Place, and acceptance of a temporary easement for construction and construction-related activities, $6,850. We'll open it up for general public comments on this. I believe this has been part of a ongoing flood work connected to Closes Creek and everything else, and it's really good to see it moving forward. But let's open it up for first any comments from the city council, and then we'll ask for germane comments from the public.
Yes, Mayor. Gloria has been a tremendous asset to getting a lot of this Closes Creek drainage taken care of. I think it's especially nice that she's got some land that we need to construct that holding pond that's really going to take set behind her house. And that's part of that. That's part of phase 2 of the Closes Creek project. We have done a lot of good work here. We're hoping that this will alleviate at least the 100-year flooding activities that have taken place along the Closes Creek area. But it's fun to go talk to Gloria. She was one of the leaders in getting this thing done after the flood of 2018. So once we hear all this, I'll be happy to move item 64. Give a nice shout out to Gloria.
All right, The item has been moved, but we'll ask first if there's any germane comments to this work at 4200 Leonard Place. Seeing none, the item's been moved. Would you poll the council, please?
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Boss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
Yes.
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
All right. Item 65 is, I mentioned earlier, that 65 is to dismiss a hearing for approval of a lease of a portion of a vacated East Market Street between Southeast 14th Street and Southeast 18th Street to Des Moines Industrial LLC for $12,500. And again, that's to dismiss the hearing.
I'll move item 65, Your Honor.
All right, the item's been moved. Would you poll the council, please?
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Boss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
Yes.
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
All right, that ends our hearings. It is 5:35. And we need to now go back to our speakers. I will ask now, under item 57, Molly Arndt. Molly, are you on? Molly, if you're on the phone again, press 9 to kind of put your hand up and 6 to unmute yourself. All right, let's move on to Luis Gomez.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks. So my comment is concerning what Mayor Carney said earlier about Des Moines being the second safest city in America. Des Moines ranked 10 in the most police brutality incidents since May of this year. The city may be safe for a certain group of the population, but knowing that the council has been publicly intimidated by the police chief into not taking action on recommendations from a marijuana task force that you yourselves created is definitely concerning. I asked that, I wanted to share that I don't feel like I live in the second safest city in America. I'd ask that you guys stop with this propaganda of like idolizing the Des Moines Police Department, because these are people who are doing a job just as all of us have to do here. Some of the recommendations from the marijuana task force would help me feel safer from being harassed by police. And so I ask that you would not let them bully you into not taking action on this marijuana task force that you all created. And I yield my time.
All right, Emily Gibson. Emily, again, if you are on the phone, press *9. Kind of put your hand up and then *6 to unmute. All right, let's move on to Holly Herbert. All right, let's try Luke Bascom.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
Yeah, just want to go ahead and touch upon your opening statement today. I think the idea that Des Moines is the second safest city in the country is a delusional one. I think if you asked DeJuan Haynes or D'Amico Fugenshoe or Jared Clinton whether they thought this was the second safest city in the country, they'd tell you something pretty different than that. And yet you all decided that it was fine to leave Ryan Steinkamp on the police force despite multiple instances of racial profiling. And you voted today to retain counsel for him, which is going to be a pricey expenditure as well to invest in. And not only that, but it speaks volumes to what you are as a council, that you're willing to openly accept this continued racist behavior by police officers. You should have called for him to be fired after the first time when he violated DeJuan. He put his hands down his pants when he checked him in a traffic stop. When he stopped D'Amico and he pushed his head into the car as he placed him in the vehicle and falsely created charges that he had possessed marijuana when he didn't. These are all instances where you all should have stepped in as city leaders and done something to ensure that he no longer could racially profile individuals in our community. So I think it's really a shame that you voted to go ahead and give him legal counsel as a city, because he shouldn't even be on the police force anymore. And this just represents larger issues that you all need to address about what your values are as city council members and as a mayor. So yeah, I'm just disappointed in that decision by you all. And I'm also disappointed in the decision about the marijuana task force findings. I think it was basically a PR stunt for you all to create that marijuana task force with your racial profiling ban over the summer and then do nothing with any of the findings that they went ahead and gathered over 8 or 9 weeks.
Time.
All right, Giovanni.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Giovanni Bahena, he, she, they, interchangeably. I'm going to speak rather quickly, so I'd appreciate it if you all paid attention. In reference to Mayor County, your comments at the beginning of the public relations, you said that we need to listen to everything people says, even if their opinions differ from ours. I would recommend that this entire council looks into the intolerance paradox by Karl Popper. I'll give you a quick little rundown of what it is. What he says in this paradox is that to create a tolerant society, we must be intolerant of intolerance. So when constituents come on and reiterate fascist, racist, white supremacist talking points during their public speaking comments, it is actually integral to a tolerant society that we call those out and actively make those talking points shameful to even think about. And I highly recommend that you do your jobs as council people in representing the entire capacity of your constituency and upholding that paradox. I would also recommend this council looks into assuring that police officers, when they are driving safely, having spent a lot of my time in the lunch area, which seems to be both lunchtime and a shift change at the cop shop on Court Ave. The suburbanites that come into the city to work are driving at dangerous rates, causing a lot of dangerous situations for the pedestrians in that area. And then to reiterate what past speakers have said, Des Moines is not the safest city anywhere, ever. Actually, when you look at the police brutality per capita of 100,000 citizens, we are number 6 in police brutality actions. And then lastly, to Mr. Gatto, if you want to roll your eyes and scoff at your constituents while they're speaking, I highly recommend you turn your camera off. You're welcome for my time.
All right, Leah? Leah Plath?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, my name's Leah Plath. My pronouns are she, her. I would also like to express my grave disappointment in Mayor County's earlier comments from the meeting tonight. If I remember correctly, most of you said you were listening and learning at the beginning of the summer, and that continues to remain a blatant lie and was probably said to briefly save as much face as you could at the time. According to this Des Moines Register article by Andrea Sahuri and Shelby Fleig that was published September of 2020, reports of use of force by the Des Moines Police Department more than doubled from 2015 to 2019, according to the agency's own analysis, which also showed that Black residents were disproportionately affected compared to whites. A PowerPoint presentation titled Use of Force Analysis, obtained this week by the Des Moines Register through an open records request, is a review that breaks down race, gender, stated reason, type of force, and other metrics. There were 192 documented uses of force in 2015, according to the data. In 2019, that number was 422, a 120% increase. Who is the city safe for? I yield my time.
All right, I want to thank all of our speakers for making comment tonight. And I also, if anybody has additional comments that they would like to make or advice they would like to give us, we would ask you to submit letters or emails or to city manager's office or the clerk's office so that we can hopefully get on those and get the information to the right departments and follow up. We also, for these speakers this evening, under item 57I, I need to have a motion to receive and file their comments, please.
I'll move to file 57I.
All right, it's been moved. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any to the contrary? Hearing none, it's unanimous, received and filed. Item 58 is approving and directing the city manager and the city attorney to draft an ordinance amending the municipal code concerning marijuana for the city council review should changes in the federal or state law permit adoption of such an ordinance. And we're hopeful that all of us will continue to spend time with our legislators to urge them to do everything necessary to, in my opinion, and I'll follow what I think I heard Councilmember Gray say, they ought to legalize it, they ought to regulate it, and they ought to tax it. And
Thank you, Mayor.
But at any rate, I will ask if we could have a motion to approve.
Mayor, I'll move 58. Contrary to some of the speakers' beliefs, I've had multiple conversations with a lot of the task force members, especially the chair, Mr. Dickey. This is similar to a trigger ordinance. When we started this task force, I believe we wanted to see a civil infraction being able to be imposed, like a speeding ticket being written for small amounts of marijuana. We're unable to do that regarding state and federal law. We are unable to do that. It's not possible. I'm hoping everyone hears me say that. We can't ask police to enforce certain laws and turn your back on other laws. We can't do that. That doesn't work to be one of the second safest cities in America. And we're not the ones that voted for that. So, I mean, I would take a lot of the energy that we've heard from some of these speakers, go to the state house, lobby the governor, lobby your state legislator, lobby the federal government with our new administration. I believe the vice president, I've heard her say that she would decriminalize it. So I would lobby that. It's already passed in the House. You need our state senators to pass something like that. And we will immediately follow those rules and ordinances. So I appreciate the help of City Legal putting this together, and I will move item 58.
Josh?
Yeah, well, I want to thank you, Councilman Gatto, for moving this item, and staff for presenting this item. You know, one of the things that we've talked about in the aftermath of the marijuana task force was what we could do, and particularly having an urgency on things related to the state legislature. And this particular item touches on, I think, 4 or 5 of the 12 recommendations that were included in the marijuana task force report. In here, we make a statement about supporting the law to change or to legalize possession of marijuana or decriminalize it. I think that's reflected in here. We also issue a statement supporting changes to the law to allow local municipalities to enact ordinances to legalize or decriminalize the possession of marijuana. Those are two of the recommendations. Another recommendation was to actively advocate for these policy changes. There have been 4 of us, at least on the initial announcement, and I don't know if others have signed on since, but there's a legislative effort and there was a press release and press conference supporting full legalization, and it had council members not just from Des Moines, but local elected officials from around the state who were signed on to that effort. And that was the start of an effort to identify and build a coalition of local elected officials that is even broader to help get these changes passed through the legislature. And so I was glad to see council members Bozen, Voss, and Gray join on to that, and would welcome the others on the council signing on to that. There's still time. This is going to be an ongoing effort. We've got work to do to convince a majority of the legislators to make these changes. And then I know, I think Connie is, Councilmember Bozen has taken this, some of this to MAC, and I know there have been at least initial conversations with folks at the League of Cities about this as well. So that's 4 of the 6 state policy recommendations that are reflected. It's also, we're being proactive. One of the local recommendations was that if changes in state law allow us to adopt an ordinance that legalizes or decriminalizes the possession of marijuana for personal use, that was a recommendation. This resolution is being proactive about that and having us take action even before state law allows it, to direct our staff to be prepared if state law allows it. I recognize this is not everything in the task force. I support the full range of these recommendations. I think we should continue to look at how we can act, particularly if we get to the end of the legislative session this year and nothing has been done. I think we need to take a hard look at enacting an ordinance that declares marijuana possession for personal use to be the lowest enforcement priority. That doesn't change the law. We make enforcement decisions all the time. We make priority decisions all the time right now. We can enact an ordinance like that, and I think we should look at doing that, particularly if we don't get more action at the state level. But I think this is a good step, and I'm glad that there is a pretty broad consensus on these items and moving forward, because I do think that helps change things, not just for Des Moines, but at the state level, when we send a unified message of where we agree as a council and the things that we can do. So I'm happy to support this. I know there's more that we need to do beyond this, but I think this is a positive step, and I'm glad there seems to be consensus on the council to take this step.
Mayor County too, I just want to say that I also support this measure and it is a step. I have talked, as Councilman Mandelbaum said, to the League of Cities, and I believe we've brought it up at MAC too. The other thing too is I just was going to check with the city manager on one of the items was track and publish data. I know that was part of an RFP, or we had talked about in general, and that was something that the policy review committee, I think, was looking at. I don't know where we're at with that. So that's another thing we're looking at. The other thing was about state driver's license, how right now putting your race on that. And I don't know if we have any more information on that. That would help us do tracking of the data. But I do support this.
Thank you all for the comments. I will ask the clerk to poll the council, please.
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Voss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
Yes.
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
All right. Thank you all. That brings us to the end of our agenda this evening. I want to thank the general public for your attendance and your comments. And again, please, if you have additional suggestions, please forward them to the manager or to the city clerk's office. And we'll put hopefully the proper staff to try to get you some of the answers. And with that, let's declare this meeting adjourned. Until next time, everybody stay safe, mask up, and if you're eligible or able, try to get a vaccine. We need to do everything we can to try to keep our citizens safe. Have a good evening.